The Grind Style Calisthenics method continues to evolve. And this next evolution is potentially going to save you a lot of time and energy while also making the exercises you do for building muscle and strength a heck of a lot more effective. Now, I'm still playing around with the name. Let's see, blast tempo, power tempo. But the bottom line is, instead of kind of going with a very smooth, slow, kind of grindy rep, like so, where you're just kind of keeping the same speed on the concentric and the eccentric motion, the objective is to move in an accelerated fashion on the concentric while coming down in a smooth, controlled manner on the eccentric. Don't get too hung up on exactly the timing of the tempo. Is that slow enough on the eccentric? Or sometimes you'll see people and they'll go really slow, and I think that's quite a bit excessive. Basically think of like 2 to 3 loading and then driving with an acceleration that's not a jerk. It's not supposed to be done with a lot of momentum, but you're essentially throwing yourself into the exercise. Now, I know this is not at all a new thing. In fact, a lot of people would say, well, duh, that's how you're supposed to lift, because of course there's only one correct way to do any type of training. But there's a lot of details in the programming that I want to discuss later on that's going to make the biggest difference for you. If you've been following the GSC program for the past several years, remember that your ability to get you what you want from your workouts depends on the foundation of your neuromuscular proficiency. Level 1 is how well you can engage your muscles, which is why phase 1 of our workouts is always tension control, usually with isometrics. Level 2 is stability and coordination, which is why the second phase of our workouts is about shift work to build up that stability and coordination of how you're using that tension. Level 3, of course, is our strength phase or proficiency phase, where we're working with relatively high intensities and not really bringing the muscles to a super high level of fatigue. And of course, level 4 is our finisher, where we do the opposite, more moderate intensities and just burning out the muscle for stimulating hypertrophy. So when we're using this type of accelerated power tempo, there's the potential to get all 4 of those at the exact same time. Maybe not quite to the degree of doing each individual phase, but if you're short on time and energy, or you just want to kind of get through the workout, that type of power training can give you all 4 of them, depending on how you're programming it. So the first rule of thumb is you want to use enough resistance that when you can drive, you have acceleration, but no what I call float. So obviously this is pretty light for my push-up, so I can just drive up and I have a little momentum carrying me further through a range. So it's too light, it's too easy. So I've got to make it harder with more resistance, so I'm accelerating and there's no float. But if it's really hard and I'm grinding through it, but there's no actual increase in speed, it's too hard. So you want to find that sweet spot where you have acceleration, but no float. When you have that ability to have that acceleration, you're doing several things. First off is you are creating more tension in the muscle, so we're producing more strength, so we're satisfying that strength phase objective better. We're also amplifying any sort of little imbalances. So if I'm going slow and easy on these ring push-ups, I'm like, yeah, techniques looks good, but then I accelerate and I notice my elbows wing out, that's amplifying that instability. So just by trying to have a more solid technique, I'm creating a greater amount of stability and control. And then when it comes to tension creation and control, there's a little bit more of the need for the nervous system to engage the muscles to a higher degree when we have that acceleration. And this was echoed in some research that came out, I'll try and find a link to it, that suggested that improving tension control can happen from simply trying to move faster. Now, that may not be quite the case if your muscles are really sleepy, but if you feel like I can't get a muscle to engage during an exercise, like my chest here, putting that extra little oomph in can make the nervous system kind of think, we need all hands on deck. let's get the other muscles involved to a higher degree that may have been kind of taking a back seat during the normal training. So just putting in that acceleration with the right amount of resistance can potentially help us satisfy the first three objectives of neuromuscular proficiency: better tension creation and control, better stability and coordination, and improved strength. But what about the whole hypertrophy finisher phase thing? So the way I've been programming this with clients for a while, and myself, that's been making my joints feel amazing and really improving my energy level, is when we're doing the exercise, you want to go for as many reps as you can, as long as you can maintain that acceleration. But you don't go until failure of your ability to do reps. You go until your technical failure of your ability to accelerate. In other words, we're avoiding the grind reps. Employing such a strategy allows you to stay relatively fresh, strong, and really improve your proficiency. And you can get as many sets as you can with that. But once you notice your fatigue is starting to mount up, then all you simply do is allow yourself to engage in those grind reps for the last set or two. So I may have my first 3 sets where I've got good acceleration, I'm staying relatively fresh, but then as I'm getting more towards the end of the workout and thinking, okay, time to finish it off, I'll allow myself to get those last few grinding reps, therefore pushing the muscle to a much higher degree of fatigue, stimulating theoretically more hypertrophy, and we don't need to worry about saving the juice in the muscle because it's the end of the workout anyway. I'm going to be going over this strategy in a lot more detail in the next episode of the Red Delta Project podcast and live feed, which will be this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or you can just subscribe to the RDP podcast and listen to it on the playback afterwards. But I'm really excited about this new evolution of the Grind Style Calisthenics strategy and system. More links down below to GSC book and all of the other videos that I have for the complete program. But give it a try. If your workouts are feeling a little stale or a little bit long in the tooth and you're kind of in a plateau, just applying a little bit of that acceleration on the concentric can make a very big difference. Let me know if you have questions down below. If you like this stuff, hit the like and the buttons and everything like that. And thank you very much for watching. Be fit, live free.